Welcome back, CSE 3200 Yukon Stores. We are in video 5 of chapter 16. We are going to send a crime report. We're going to do this by going into crime detail fragment and update UI. We're going to set a listener for the crime report button. We're going to do this with this code here, at least this is the beginning of it. We are going to have a value report intent. We are going to set it to, we are going to call an intent constructor. It's going to have one argument. That argument is a constant. There are a lot of constants for intent constructors. We could take a look when we get into the code. It goes on and on. If you are curious, you could look at the documentation for any of those. But what it's describing is an action. Now, what we cannot put as part of the constructor is the type of text that we are sending. So we are going to have to explicitly attach that. We're going to put as an extra, note the constant here, intent.extra, and also note down here, intent.extra subject. These are constants, and applications on the other end, they're going to know what they are and what to do with them when they see them. So we are going to put in this extra, intent.extra, and we are going to have as text the crime report that we developed 2 videos ago. We're then going to put as an extra the subject using the string resource. Now, starting an intent from a fragment is an awful lot like starting an intent from an activity. We're just going to call start activity report intent. Now, if all goes well, once we code that and run it, we're going to get a menu like this. And this is probably what you're going to see the first time because this is the default emulator. But I suppose if you picked a different phone, it might look different. So you are going to want to choose the messages unlike the others because it's going to be the simplest. It is not going to ask you for any login information or anything like that. Okay, let's get into the code and see what happens. Here we are in crime detail fragment, update UI, somewhere around here. Crime report. Dot set on click listener. We're going to get rid of the parentheses and put curly braces. Val report intent is equal to, call the intent constructor. Let's see, this was a minus sign. Let's change that to an equal sign. For the intent constructor, we're going to go intent dot action send. Now, take a look at many different actions. It goes on and on. As I said, lots of choices. Action underscore send, and then outside of the parentheses, dot apply. I've got all caps on, dot apply, and put curly braces, and we're going to set the type to inside double quotes, text / plain, and then next line, put extra. I just chose the first one and it just gives me a blank. Intent dot extra text. I see it. Come down here and autocomplete. And then comma, and then my get crime report, a function that we haven't used yet. And we are going to pass in as the argument crime. Next line, we're going to put extra, and we are going to separate the parentheses and put intent dot extra subject, comma, and then we're going to get our string resource. Get string, and then r dot string dot crime report subject. Careful, there's a subject and suspect. Okay, so that's the setup. Remember, we have one more line. We're going to come outside of the parentheses, outside of the first curly braces, and we are going to go start activity, passing in report intent. I was curious about the error here. I could not find it, but and I'm not really sure why this fixes it. I'm not sure why adding in that white space makes any difference, but it did. So start activity, report intent, and we're going to run it and see what happens. All right, so let's go into a crime and say send report. And this looks a little different than what you have seen, because this is not the first time I've run this. Okay, so I uninstalled the phone, I reinstalled it, put in a couple of crimes, and put in a couple of contacts. Contacts may not show up in this video, but they'll be showing up soon. So let's try it again. Let's run it and see if we get our crime report. And what I'm looking for first is that I get that options to show up. So let's go in here and say send crime report. All right, there we go. We got our options. So I'm going to pick messages, and then you have this choice of always or just once. So I am going to hit always, and then I'll make a new conversation. And then who's this going to be to? We'll send it to David Wallace. And okay, so I'm going to send this. And it says stapler phone fails to ring, exclamation point, because we had that in our format string. The crime was discovered on Thursday, April 6th. The case is not solved and there is no suspect. All right, so it worked well. Now let's take a look at trying this again. All right, let's see. Get rid of that. Let's just use the back button. And let's go into criminal intent. And let's go here. Let's go Toby invited to Michael's birthday party. And we're going to send the crime report. And notice that I have skipped that choosing menu. And that's because I selected always. So I'm going to cancel this. And what we're going to do is we are going to make it so that we always have a choice. Well, almost always. If there's only one thing on the phone that can send a text message, then you will not get this chooser that we're about to make. So we're going to go to our code that we just put in. This line is going to be very similar, but let's comment it out for now. And we are going to make a chooser. So we're going to call it val chooser intent. And this is going to equal intent dot create chooser. And inside the parentheses, we're going to have a couple of arguments: report intent, comma, get string, r dot string send report. And then outside of the parentheses, we are going to start the activity, but we have put our report intent inside of our chooser intent. So it will launch when we launch our chooser intent. So when we start our activity, we're not going to start activity report intent. We are going to start activity and then chooser intent. So now let's run it. And what we should see is that we are going to get a menu this time. And in fact, the graphics are going to be a little bit nicer. And so it's probably a good idea to have a chooser anyway. So let's go into Toby invited to Michael's birthday party and send report. And looking for our brand new chooser. Okay, there we go. The icons are organized a little bit nicer. It's horizontal instead of vertical. The icons are bigger. And I even have a previous conversation up here in case I want to go with that. So then we could go into our messaging app, new message. And notice it did not give us our always or just this once, and we will send our report to David Wallace and hit send, and we have our second crime report. Okay, so there we did it. We got our crime report sent. In the next video, we are going to take our button. Let's see if we can get back to our home screen. Yeah, here we go. So right now, our button has choose suspect, and that's going to just be a default. But if we do have a suspect, that suspect's name is going to go there. We're going to do that in the next video, and I'll see you there.